Another week, another game, and another disappointment. The Shecago Bears have lost again. We're going to deep dive into it. I'm Alexis Jade, and this is the Shecago Bears. Well, guys, there's no, beating around the bush. The Bears lost again, and it's honestly gotten quite disappointing at this point. I think this was a game we all expected the Bears to lose, but I think the most disappointing part is at least up until the end of the first half, it looked like the Bears were going to win. Not even necessarily win, but it looked like they had a chance. It looked like the Bears were actually having a good game. The offense was clicking. The defense, not so much, but the offense was good, and we kind of knew we were getting into a shootout. Maybe we should have known that getting into a shootout with a rookie quarterback was not going to end well for us, but it looked like it was off to a promising start. And I think that's just the most disappointing part, is that we could have maybe sneaked out a win here, and we just completely fell apart at the seams. So, breaking down into the reasons why, Tyson Bagent's 4 turnovers. The Bears as a whole had 5 turnovers this game, which is just, you don't win games that way. So Bears had 5 turnovers total. DJ Moore accounts for one of those. I think he had kind of an off game. The one turnover he did have where he fumbled the ball, it kind of looked like he didn't fully have his glove on, which at the end of the day, he still got the ball punched out and lost the ball, but he was holding it with the hand where the glove was sliding off. So I'm sure that didn't help his case. However, no excuses, right? You can't turn over the ball. And same goes for Tyson Bagent. We know he's a rookie quarterback. We know he's, fresh coming into this game, but you can't turn the ball over 4 times. And it's just, he had 1 interception in the first half, which maybe you could look at as kind of like a bad throw. But then the second half came, and especially the fourth quarter came, and suddenly he was throwing 2 more interceptions. He had a fumble. It is what it is, right? There's no sugarcoating the stat line. He just didn't perform well. He had a good first half and then kind of fell apart. And even his first half, he still had a turnover. So it's not like he had this outstanding first half. He still had a turnover in the first half. So overall, the performance wasn't great. I think someone tweeted, what grade would you give Tyson Bagent at the half? And I gave it a solid B. And then that probably went down to a D-F towards the end of the game. And that's just being brutally honest. And obviously it was a team effort too. The team didn't perform well either, but quarterbacks got to hold on to the ball, and the same thing goes for Justin Fields when he does that. But this game, it was just, there was no getting around it. It was pretty blatant bad decisions or bad mistakes. I thought the play calling overall had a decent game. Luke Getsy, he does this thing every 2 weeks where he decides to call a decent game, and then he strips it all away and does something totally different the next week. So I kind of knew it was coming. I thought maybe it was going to be the Carolina game, but Luke Getsy called a decent game. A lot of play action, a lot of boots, a lot of RPOs, everything in between. It does frustrate me that we don't call this for Fields, and I know this isn't getting in a comparison. It's just annoying because Getsy was quoted saying, like, we know Tyson can move his legs, so we want to get him out of the pocket. You have another quarterback on your roster that's your starting quarterback that also can move out of the pocket, right? Like, that's what irked me, because it's like he's just discovering this. And I won't get into all that right now, but I just really didn't understand that. And he ended up resorting back to his old ways towards the end of the game. In the fourth quarter, he went conservative again, went back to the screens. It just overall was it. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He called a good game for the majority of the game till the end and pulled a typical Luke Getsy. So what can you do? The defense. Defense was a huge factor in this game, and not in a good way. It's my little pen. Not in a good way. The defense, oh my God, they could not get a stop. We were entering a complete shootout going into the second half, and the defense was just playing absolutely soft coverage. And that goes back to Matt Eberflus on the head coach and on the defensive coordinator, because he's both right now. What was with the soft coverage? Here's the thing. The thing that bothers me is that we're all going to be upset about not getting pressure on the quarterback, but I think it kind of all goes full circle, right? If you're playing soft coverage instead of playing man, or, some other coverage that can prevent the other team from having such easy, wide open throws for Derek Carr to make, then your opposing quarterback is going to see wide open lanes to throw into, and they're going to be able to get that ball out, aka Derek Carr, who's a vet in this league, is going to be able to get that ball out in 2 seconds, which is what he did. So that gives your defensive line no time to try to form a pass rush. I mean, there was a few pressures, and we all know our defensive line is not very good, but it didn't give your defensive line very much time to even be able to sack the quarterback. A good defensive line could do it. We're not a good defensive line. We're mediocre to bad, but I upped it to mediocre with Montez Sweat. So when you're playing soft coverage and you're constantly leaving wide open windows, the quarterback's going to be able to just get the ball out quick. So how do you expect your front to get pressure? Now, on the flip side, so therefore I think it just goes in a circle, right? I think it's a blame circle that just keeps going round and round and round like my pen. But I think the problem is also you can blame the defensive line. The defensive line got no pressure on the quarterback today. I mean, he couldn't even sniff him. And Montez Sweat got a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. He was able to beat his man a little bit, but he never fully beat his man or was able to break through for the sack. And not that I was expecting Montez Sweat to come out here and just have this incredible game, but we just signed him to a huge contract, and I didn't see any plays from him that kind of stood out as like game-changing plays or drive-saving plays. Maybe drive-destroying in the sense of being on the defense, but there was just nothing that stood out, and he didn't really have any breakthroughs. Now, once again, like I said, it kind of goes in a full circle effect, right? It's not all on him, but I'm just saying, I just don't know. It's one game. He just started here. I'm going to give him time. I'm not out on Montez Sweat at all, but I just thought it was interesting that there was no big moments from him this game, and I was kind of hoping to see at least something that kind of showed why he was here. Now, I want him here. Don't get me wrong on that. There was one play that I saw where he was, I think, all the way on the right side. He worked his way from the right behind Carr all the way to the other side where Taysom Hill got the handoff and tackled him from behind to stop him. Taysom did get the first down, but if Montez Sweat didn't work his way around that way, I mean, Hill was gone. Taysom Hill was out there for a touchdown. So that was a good play, and those are things that show he's fighting, right? But I guess all this tangent is just to say I was hoping to see more from Montez Sweat in this game, but we'll see going forward. Now, I have to bring it up because I think I jinxed this on the last podcast where I said special teams is the only good part of this team. We had a doink. It wasn't a double doink, but it was a doink. And I think all of the Bears fans around the world sat in silence staring at their screen when they saw Cairo Santos kick that doink into the field goal before the half. Now, did it end up being game altering? We lost by 3 points? No. But that was Cairo Santos' first miss of the season. He had scored all 11 he had attempted so far this season. So that was rough. That was rough for Cairo, and I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a fumbled snap. The camera showed him after, and he looked just as confused as we did. He was looking at it like, did that just happen? I mean, his face was like really analyzing that playback. So I don't know what happened there, but I think I jinxed us, and I owe all of you an apology for jinxing your special teams and getting us a doink. Now, going into our NFL News of the Week segment, I'm just going to say this quickly on the quarterback situation. Tyson Bagent played a bad game. He had a bad game, but that's not to take away what he's done, right? I don't want anyone misconstruing what I'm saying by thinking that I think Tyson Bagent is this awful quarterback and will never amount to anything, or that he's only destined to be a backup quarterback. I think he's shown enough to say that he can be a good backup quarterback in the league. Yes. I think he's also shown that he's very raw, which makes sense, and he's only played 3 games in the NFL, so all of that makes sense. But I think he's also shown that with maybe some development, he does have a chance to potentially be a starter in the league. I will say that's his ceiling. I don't know if he's there right now. I don't know if he ever will get there. But I will say I don't think we can put a ceiling or a limit on him. But I will say I think his ceiling is he potentially could be a starter in the NFL. I don't know if that will happen. A lot of cards have to go in his favor for that to work. But I'm not trying to bash on Tyson Bagent by any means. I'm just saying how the game went. And at the end of the day, how Tyson performed, if you seriously were thinking that he was going to start over Justin Fields, I mean, let's be real here for a second. There's a lot of factors into why he was not, but this game should have shown that, Justin Fields is our starting quarterback, and when he's healthy, he's starting, like I've said in previous week's podcast before, and that's just what it's going to be. And the polls and the front office staff of the Bears need to evaluate Justin Fields. So regardless, Fields is going back in there, and he is going to be evaluated to see if he is the franchise quarterback going forward. They were never going to keep Tyson Bagent as the starting quarterback unless Tyson just blew everyone out of the water and was winning us games and putting up 300 yards, 3 touchdowns a game. Unless that was happening, they were never going to be starting Tyson over Fields. So Fields is going in, he's going to be our starter, and we should all be rooting for Fields when he comes back in, because I hate that this has become a Tyson versus Bagent thing, where every fail that Tyson has, it's, well, Justin Fields could have made that, or Justin Fields is the better quarterback, or every success Tyson has, it's, well, Justin Fields can't do that. Justin Fields would never be able to process that. Why is everything a comparison? They're 2 separate different quarterbacks, and Justin Fields is our starting quarterback. We should be rooting for Tyson Bagent to improve and be a very good backup for us, or maybe one day being a starter in the NFL. That's great, but that's not where he is now. Right now, he is the Bears' backup quarterback. We root for him where he's in, and we root for his development. Justin Fields is the starting quarterback, and we root for Justin Fields as the starting quarterback. It is in the Bears and Bears fans' best interest if Justin Fields proves he is the starting quarterback going forward. If we end up with the number 1, number 2 draft pick, if we trade that away, do you know how much draft capital we can get for that? Do you know how franchise altering that could be? If we already have our starting quarterback of the future, and then we're able to spend that draft capital or trade those picks on draft capital that excel us going forward for 2024 and beyond, it is in the best interest of this entire team for Justin Fields to be the starting quarterback. So I really don't understand people rooting against the guy. You don't always have to agree that your viewpoints on Justin Fields, on how he's performed thus far and everything else. There's a lot of factors that go into play. But at the end of the day, you're a Bears fan, so you should be rooting for your quarterback to succeed, especially as someone of Justin Fields' caliber. Him succeeding is the best outcome for the Bears. So that's my tangent. Now moving on to NFL News of the Week. We're staying on Justin Fields. Justin Fields, according to Ryan Poles, is on the table for playing against Carolina. In my opinion, this is kind of the game I thought he was going to be back in this entire time. So I'm not entirely shocked. Now, nothing's confirmed, but Justin Fields did return to practice on Friday before this previous game. So it's looking good for Justin Fields. The clips showing of him throwing, I mean, his thumb didn't look like a factor at all. He was throwing some nice balls that you would never have thought that he had a wrap on his thumb. So, well, he had a glove on his thumb, he said. But basically, Poles said they're going to evaluate, see how Justin Fields feels, see how he feels throwing, if there's any pain, see if there's any swelling, go over with the medical staff on if he's cleared to play. But if I'm a betting person, I'm going to say Justin Fields plays this Thursday against Carolina, which is going to affect my score prediction. Now, if Justin Fields doesn't play, one more start to see Tyson Bagent, and then I expect Justin Fields the following week. Now, I really hope Justin Fields plays Thursday, because the more games he could get under his belt, the better. But that's a story for a different day. Needless to say, NFL News of the Week is Justin Fields is practicing again and might be on the table for playing on Thursday. Joshua Dobbs, staying on quarterbacks. If you want a backup quarterback success story, this is where to look. Minnesota, our division rivals, Joshua Dobbs came in after the multitude of injuries at quarterback for the Vikings and put up 24 points. There is a video clip of him on the sidelines practicing snaps with the center and practicing cadences because he had not taken a single snap with this offensive line ever since being here. So, I mean, there's not much more to say on the story. The Vikings got the win, and Joshua Dobbs came in and had a little success story of himself. Will it continue going forward? Who knows? But that was a super cool moment to see. It was really cool seeing the Vikings locker room after the win, cheering for him when he came into the locker room. That was all super cool. But yeah, a little backup quarterback success story for all of you. Staying on backups and rookies, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud had an amazing game. 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 147.8 QB rating. He was the first rookie quarterback to ever do it. So needless to say, CJ Stroud had a great game. And before Bears fans, you come in here saying we should have drafted CJ. No, because I don't remember anyone clamoring for CJ Stroud when the draft was happening, thinking that we should replace Fields with CJ. Also, I've always been a fan of CJ, rooting for him. I did not think that he was better than Justin Fields. I still don't. I think he's having a really good season, and maybe I could end up being proven wrong later on down the line, but I don't know. But also, keep in mind, we would have had to use that number 1 pick in the draft to get CJ. So everything we would have gotten in return for that number 1 pick that we traded away, we wouldn't have now, including people like DJ Moore. So it's easy to look back on revisionist history and think we should have drafted CJ, but it's not that black and white. And also, looking in past tense, it's really easy to see someone successful now and say we should have done this, when at the time, no one was saying that. So I get it, but at the same time, let's all pump the brakes a little bit. But congrats to CJ. He had a great game, and I'm really excited to see where his NFL career goes. And lastly, throwing a little shout out to across the pond, the Chiefs destroyed the Dolphins in Germany. Actually, they didn't really destroy them. They destroyed them in the first half and then kept them to a close game. The Dolphins caught up, and then Tua had a crazy random throw to no one in the middle of the field that went nowhere, and the Chiefs won the game. So Chiefs win in Germany. Now, moving on. Final segment, NFC North, predictions of the week. Let's get into it. We have the Vikings versus the Saints. Obviously, the Saints is who we just played. So I am taking the win for the Vikings. Now, I know that's not a lot of suspense building up, but I'm just getting straight to the point. I think the Vikings win. The fact that we were in a close game with the Saints should say what the capabilities are of this Saints team. So I'm also confused because the Saints team was meant to have one of the best defenses in the league. I think they're good, but I don't think they're great. And the fact that we were able to keep up with them, I'm kind of wishy-washy on it. So I'm going to take this as a win for the Vikings. I think the quarterback situation is interesting, but if they can keep the momentum from last week, now here's where things get crazy is you have that great game and you think it's going to be a cakewalk going into versus the Saints now, and then it turns out now your backup quarterback starts having some backup moments, but we'll see how it plays out. But I'm going to take Vikings for the win, and I'm going to say the score is 24-17 Vikings. Lions versus the Chargers. Now obviously we also played the Chargers, and the Chargers beat us bad, but also we're a really bad team. So I am going to take the Lions for the win again on this one, but I think it's going to be a closer game. I do think the Lions pass rush can maybe affect Herbert more. However, I still think their secondary Herbert can easily beat. So I'm going to keep this a kind of close game, but I am going to say that the Lions win 27-23 to the Chargers. I'm keeping it close, so we'll see how it turns out. Packers versus the Steelers. The Packers are coming off of a win, but against a not great team, so I don't really count that for much. Now, do the Packers beat the Steelers? I don't think so. I think the Steelers are kind of on a good trajectory so far, and I don't really see the Packers being good enough to beat the Steelers. Now, I do think it could be a semi-close game again. It's really hard when someone's not a team that you play that often because I don't really follow the Steelers as much to see how they're pairing up in their division. I know they're doing well in their division. I know they're doing well in their division, but I don't know how well, and I don't know how that translates to playing other teams. But for the sake of it, I'm going to go with the Steelers on this one, also because screw the Packers. I'm going to go 20-17 Steelers. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the Packers are still a really bad team and might be neck and neck with us for worst team in the league right now. So I'm going to pick the Steelers to win over the Packers. And finally, Bears versus Panthers, which I have them last on the list, but we're actually the first game this week because we play on Thursday. So this is where things get interesting because I have the Bears winning this game. Now, here's the thing. Part of my brain right now is saying I could 100% see this being a game where Luke Getsy strips everything down and takes away everything that's working and calls an awful game against the bad team, and it ends up being an upset win for Carolina. And then that also affects our draft pick. Like, that scenario is playing out in my head, but I'm going to try not to manifest it. So instead, I'm picking the other option that I see happening. I think it's one of the two. I don't think it's a close game. I don't think any other outcome happens besides a complete upset win by Carolina or domination by the Bears. Because we do know the games we have won, we've dominated. So it's one of the two options, in my opinion. So in order to not manifest the bad outcome, I'm picking the Bears to win, and I'm picking them to win by 30-14. So I know that's a big number, but here's my other thing. If Justin Fields is in, I'm thinking we get up 30 points because I think Justin Fields has a lot to prove, and going against a not great Carolina defense, he could easily slice and dice them from the pocket and also pick up running yards between our running backs, between Justin Fields' own legs. I think that this could be a great blowout win for the Bears. But like I said, there's the other outcome in the back of my head that I think could also happen. But for the sake of my prediction, I'm picking the Bears 30-14 against Carolina. Well, guys, that has been my NFC North predictions. Please let me know in the comments what your predictions are for the week for either the NFC North as a whole or just for the Bears. What do you think is going to happen in Carolina? And who do you think is the starting quarterback going in Carolina? We have a few days to find out. Please also don't forget to subscribe and like. It means a lot, and commenting it all really helps for the algorithm and helps push my videos. So thank you so much for watching. Overall, the Bears had another upset, another loss, and it's not shocking at this point, but going forward, looking at the schedule, I really only see maybe the Bears squeaking out another 2 wins if we do. So it's going to be interesting to see what our record is at the end of the season, and it's going to be really interesting to see what our draft position is, because that's also going to alter things a lot. So here's to hoping Justin Fields is healthy and ready to go and has a great game if he does play. We'll find out when I see you after the Thursday game. But thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. I'm Alexis Jade, and this has been the Shecago Bears.